Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the next episode of the Frisco Report. Got a guest here with me, a special friend of mine, Ben Sudderth, out of BS3 Radio. What's going on, Ben?
Hey, man, doing good. Glad to get on the Frisco Report. I'm right down the street in Frisco.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's good to have you on again, and that kind of thing. So we're going to talk Cowboys football. We have a lot of topics to cover. We're going to talk about, Andy Dalton, Cooper, the scheduled Dak Prescott's contract, where that's at, and we'll close it out with some predictions on the NFL schedule release that's coming out this Thursday night. All right, Ben. So without further ado, man, let's get into the QB talk here with Dak Prescott. Obviously he's hasn't signed the franchise tag yet, and he doesn't really have to until July 17th or somewhere like that. Right. I think is the deadline. But, now you see a little bit of a roster churn here with the Cowboys signing Andy Dalton to a one-year deal for $3 million with certain incentives. He can make up to $7 million. What was your first take on this, Ben, when you heard this news?
My first take was like, hell no. Is this what we doing? We gonna sign Andy? So that was my first initial response. But then when I kind of looked at it, I was like, okay, Andy's better than any backup we have. We had Cooper Rush, who played limited games. We had Mike White, played limited games. Nothing has happened to Dak. So if something was to happen to Dak, I've been talking about this for the past year or so. You need to have a quality backup. Andy Dalton fits that. And then I just really thought, like, Andy Dalton hasn't been relevant in probably 4 years. He hasn't been to a Pro Bowl in probably 4 years. The Bengals haven't been to the playoffs. So he's been one of the bottom level quarterbacks. So I wasn't. A lot of people saying they're worried. Is this leverage for Dak? I don't think it's leverage. I just think he's a backup. If something does happen with Dak, he could come in. Not gonna say he's gonna win games, but he could at least manage the game. He's an experienced quarterback. He's been in the league for a while. So my initial response was confusing because this kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah. But then when you think about it, it's just he's a backup now. So he's going to be a good quality backup here. It's a 1-year deal. It's nothing further. And then we'll talk about that probably later. But Cooper Rush, he's no longer there. So to me, that's a clear cut sign that he's a backup.
Yeah, exactly. I think you nailed it right on the head, Ben. That's exactly how I felt about it too. I was like, oh wow, I knew. Whenever the Bengals they drafted Burrow, I knew the writing was on the wall. I didn't know if he was going to want to stick around, mentorship or whatever. But I felt like they wanted to go ahead and make that clean break, so they let him go. When they let him go, all the talk was, he's the Patriot way. They try to connect the dots for him to go to the Patriots, and but what's a lot of fans didn't know was if he makes his home there, he's there in the area, so. He's already living there. He doesn't have to uproot his family or anything, so it's very convenient for him. And I think he's looking at this roster. He's got a championship coach. I always say that Marvin Lewis was the AFC Jason Garrett, or you could say Jason Garrett was the NFC Marvin Lewis. They're both to me they were the same coach.
Right, true.
Yeah, so that's a good move.
Marvin got so many passes, man. He got so many year after year after year. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but when it comes to Dalton, I thought it was a clear cut sign him going to New England. It seemed like a good project for Belichick.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, man. It was just one of those things where it's like, okay, let's go. Let's roll with it. And so my thought was, okay, he's going to come in here and, maybe there's going to be a competition between him and Cooper. And then you got Ben DiNucci we just signed, which we know is one of Mike McCarthy's hand-picked kind of players. So then, you start getting into the numbers game and who's really going to battle it out? You know what I mean? So I think the Cowboys made the right move here. Let Cooper Rush get another opportunity. And, Dalton is going to be the backup. I think that's where his career will be moving forward if he wants to play after this year. I think he makes a good backup for you. We haven't had a good backup since I want to say Kyle Orton, I think was maybe the last one. Maybe a little bit of John Kitna when he was backing up Romo for a little bit. But it's been a while. and like you said, did we really want to, go with, a Cooper Rush? If something happens to Dak, which, knock on wood, nothing has happened yet. But, he's been in the league for a couple years now, and the way he plays, he kind of could open himself up to, some sort of injury. We see Dak running in the ball, so could he take a hit to the leg, the hip, a quad gets pulled, or, I know he dealt with the shoulder there at the end of the season. So if you have a better quality quarterback, I think you can get away with winning a couple of games if you need to rest your quarterback. And I think we have that with Dalton now. Great move, man. By me, I really like the move compared to who else was out there. I know Cam Newton's still out there, but then what's your thoughts on that, Ben? Why hasn't Cam Newton signed with anybody? Have you heard anything behind the scenes as far as what the deal is there with Cam? Is it more of him wanting to be a for sure starter, or what's your thinking there on Cam?
Yeah, that was the last thing that I read, that he wants to be a starter. He's making, Billy Blank's videos of him working out. So, I mean, he wants to start. I think he should start.
Yeah.
I've said this before. I think New England is like the underdog where he could go. I do not see New England, riding out there with Jared Stedman or whoever else they have on that roster. I just don't see it, because that's not going to give you a real good shot to win.
Yeah.
And I think we never really seen a mobile quarterback in New England, really, that I can think of at all, at least during my time following the NFL. So I think that's where he could possibly go. I think the Jags on the list, Denver, and maybe even, San Diego, they were brought up. They'd end up drafting Hibbert, but you got to think, like, Hibbert may not be ready, day one.
Mm-hmm.
The other team I was thinking about, too, was the Redskins. I think Ron Rivera's there. That's his previous coach. He could come in for, a couple of years, at least kind of help Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins kind of got, thrown to the wolves towards the end of last year.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another possibility. But I think he does want to start. And I think he's probably turning down, deals left and right to be a backup. I don't think he should be a backup. So that's from what I was hearing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I totally agree. I'm a fan of Cam. I like the way he plays. I like how he has these interviews, post-game interviews that are fun to me. That he cracks me up. I know he kind of rubs people the wrong way in certain ways he answers, but he's a character, man. I like Cam. Hopefully he gets back in the league and play for somebody, and and get that going for him. But yeah. So Cooper Rush, we cut him. And, I guess not by surprise, the Giants picked him up, Ben. So he goes over there joining Jason Garrett now and first-year head coach Joe Judge. What's your thoughts on Cooper Rush going over there to the Giants?
I'm not surprised because, Garrett is there. And I do think the Giants are going to become the Dallas Cowboys of the North, because he's there. I think then they pick up Colombo as well, if I'm not mistaken, as the offensive line coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like they have the connections. Jason Garrett's been these guys' coach for a long time, so I think we're going to see more players going up that way. But like we kind of texted before, coming on, they have Alex Tanney. That's the old Cowboys. Training camp quarterback name, if you guys remember him. Obviously, Daniel Jones. And you add Cooper Rush into the mix. I mean, who knows what's really going to happen? But, I mean, I think, hey, get your opportunities where you can. If you're not going to get it with the Cowboys, you might as well go wherever you get an opportunity to get paid and possibly play. So I'm cool with it. And I hope the Giants have a horrible year.
You know what the thing I do like too is that being that Garrett is over there, there's gonna be familiarity here. I mean, McCarthy knows how to game plan that offense. I mean, we had, whenever Garrett played up against the Packers, we were so close, but he kind of always had something up his sleeve to get over us. So now we have him, and the Giants have Garrett and those guys. So, he's got some weapons. He's got Barkley. Daniel Jones, I think, is up and coming. They really did a good job, I think, bolstering that offensive line, and I think that's maybe a little bit of the Garrett influence. I mean, it's totally revamped. That might help them out. But, the defense, I think, is still suspect. They got a couple players there, but nothing really that scares you. So what's your thoughts on the Jason Garrett influence on the Giants, Ben? Do you think we're going to see some familiar plays or things like that?
Yeah, I definitely think we are. And also, I think we're going to see a different Jason Garrett because he gets the opportunity to be an offensive coordinator. He's not the head coach. There's not going to be that much pressure. He's in New York, so he's going to get some pressure because New York is scooped for everything. But I think he'll be able to kind of step back for a minute, probably let his hair down, probably get opportunity to create some new plays. We may see some creativity that we've never seen before with Jason Garrett. But also, you think about Joe Judge. When they hired Joe Judge, at first I was like, okay, who is this guy? Number one. Number two, what is he going to do with his staff? So, them bringing on Jason Garrett, I think we're going to see something different. But I think the greatest thing is, like, the Cowboys know his MO. So it's almost like he has to be different in order for us to not know what he's going to do because he's running the offense. So I think that works to our advantage somewhat.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Ben. I think it's going to be fun playing these guys. It's always, the division games are always fun. They're always good battles. I think they're rarely ever blowouts anymore. But, are we going to see the Giants offense be conservative, the field goals, that kind of thing? Are they going to go for it on fourth down? Because we know that, and you make a good point, like Jason Garrett probably has a little bit more leeway to be creative and, maybe take more risks now, because with the Cowboys, that's one thing fans really couldn't stand was the predictability, no balls, just going for field goals and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how he goes. I know he's gonna try to get these guys going and hopefully, try to get himself another head coaching gig. I would think, Yeah,
I mean he's not that old, so I think that's probably definitely on his horizon. But that's the main reason why I'm excited about McCarthy. Because, Cowboys fans, it's like a roller coaster every day, pretty much of our lives, because they're in the news at some point, every point of the every day. But when they got McCarthy, I was excited because it's different. We've been calling for Garrett's job for so long. Now we have different eyes, and I don't know if he would have even made the Andy Dalton move if it wasn't for McCarthy. I don't know if some of these moves in the draft, think about how great of a draft he had. I know Will McClay obviously was part of it, but McCarthy had to have been a huge part of it as well. He was doing his barn house, scouting and stuff with the guys that he had while he was off. So, I mean, this to me, this is the most exciting part of this upcoming year is fresh eyes, all new coaches. I mean, to me, this is going to be exciting. Besides Kellen Moore, obviously.
Yeah. You're exactly right, Ben. It's we get to see, I think we'll see more aggressive play calling. Mike McCarthy's not afraid to go for it on fourth down. He's got good weapons here. I think he hasn't had this good of a pantry of weapons for a while. I know he's had pretty good rosters over there. Obviously, they got the great quarterback over there with Rodgers, but you got a complete running back now. You got a heck of a trio at wide receiver, and you make a good point, Ben. The draft, right? This is a different. The Cowboys took a different look, a different angle at this draft, and it all came back from what we heard at the Senior Bowl with Will McClay saying that we want to fit good players into the scheme, not draft for need. So I think they really nailed that in this draft. They got, we didn't really did we really need a wide receiver at 17? You know, everybody was wanting Caleb on Chase on. You know, where are we at the pass rush? We're not so. Is it a sure thing that Aldon Smith and Gregory come back? So everybody was like Caleb on, and then we go and we get a number 1 rated wide receiver fall in our lap, and we pull the trigger. You know, like I don't think that would have been done under Jason Garrett. You know.
Now we basically took because the report came out that they weren't trying to get CeeDee Lamb. It was that CeeDee Lamb was there, and they took the best available player. There has never been a time under Jason Garrett where I've heard him say, "We got the best player." We've heard like we got the player we needed. You know, that's a prime example of what the year of the linebacker that we got. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Van Der Esch, yeah.
Van Der Esch. Getting Van Der Esch when Ridley was right there. And a lot of people was wanting Ridley.
Yeah.
You know, we end up going with Van Der Esch. So it's a clear-cut difference. And every pick I did my research, and I was like, okay, these are people that it sounds more geared towards McCarthy. And maybe Will McClay and McCarthy, I'm sure, probably sit down. Sounds like they worked out a good plan because this is one of the best drafts that I've seen in a while.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's you know, nailed it on the head right there, Ben. And you know, we can even go back to when we took Taco. You know, he just got released again. You know, this time by the Dolphins. In that 2017 draft class, you know, they were saying that 17 of the first round picks didn't get their fifth year options picked up. So it's kind of looking now like that 2017 draft class in the first round was really rough for a lot of teams, you know. And but you look at what the Cowboys did. You know, they passed on TJ Watt. I think if we have McCarthy, he's that pick. You know, I think he would be a Cowboy. So yeah, I love these picks, man. CeeDee Lamb. You know, he does. You know, he compares himself to DeAndre, and I see it in his game. You know, run after the catch. He turns into running back he can juke you out of your shoes, and he can run some routes. You know, I think one knock is that he's not the best route runner, but I don't see that. I think he runs pretty good routes.
You think in that the Oklahoma offense where it was pass happy.
Yeah.
He was the clear cut number 1. I cannot name any other wide receiver on that roster, or I don't know if any other wide receiver from Oklahoma got drafted that I can think of. So CeeDee Lamb obviously was the clear cut guy on that roster for a reason. So, and the other part of this is we don't need him to be the guy. We already have the guy. Amari Cooper is the guy. We already have a number 2 in Gallup that is proven. So he just has to come in and catch balls. That's it. We don't need you to do anything spectacular. But when you do something spectacular, obviously that's going to be great. So this is like a perfect situation, and I think it's going to be one of the best wide receiving corps in the game this year.
Yeah, it's really stacking up to be something amazing. And then what I like too is that you're kind of setting yourself up for the future too. You know, we know Amari Cooper, the Cowboys made that contract where after, you know, 2 years they can get out of it with taking a not such a big hit and dead money. So it's interesting how the Cowboys constructed Amari's contract. We got Gallup, you know, him next year will be his contract year. So you've got CeeDee Lamb, who could play on the outside. You know, he was that X receiver at Oklahoma and did a great job. You know, can get down the field and that kind of thing. So, you know, it's they've done a really, really well, a good job of that. And then you turn around in the second round and you steal Trayvon Diggs, you know, who by a lot of counts was a first round talent, and he lands in your lap again. It's amazing how good this draft turned out, you know, on paper. You know, we'll see what they do when the lights come on, but, you know, everything looks good right now. Yeah,
true, man. It's almost like we were playing tic-tac-toe. We got 3 in a row, basically on every single round, even with the last pick with the guy from from James Madison, Danucci.
Right.
I mean, to be able to make it to that championship game, almost beat, North Dakota State, which is arguably one of the best college football dynasties of right now. I mean, that means something. So if he doesn't even make the team, that's still a good pick, and he can compete. So it was good.
Absolutely. What's your take on the whole? I guess I don't know if you could say controversy, but there was word that CeeDee Lamb wanted number 10 when he came out. Jerry wanted him to be 88, and now he is the next 88 in a storied history with Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, and Des Bryant. What's your take on that, Ben? When you heard this was going on?
Yeah, man, I'm tired of people getting the 88. Can we retire this number, please? Like this to me, it becomes disrespect to the greats that have wore the number. Obviously, when you talk about the original 88, that's disrespect to him. And then you go to Michael Irvin, everything that he done in that number. You go to Dez. Dez has some great years in that number. But at this point, I guess you can't retire because it's becoming like a watered down number, at least in my opinion. But I don't make the rules. Obviously, that's Jerry. He's kind of paying tribute to Jerry Lamb, which is, I believe it's a guy from Arkansas, and that kind of with the both the same last name. So I think at this point it is what it is, and I think they should have retired this with Michael Irvin when he went to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree. Because then you get somebody like Antonio Bryant, who was just awful.
Right.
He
basically crapped on that number, and now then it became watered down. Yeah, it is. I don't think the number will be retired unless CeeDee Lamb becomes the best 88 in Cowboys history. Then maybe they may retire at that point. But at this point, they're giving it to whoever they feel should wear it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ben, as we're talking here on the Cowboys here, what is your gut take, since we're talking quarterbacks and everything like that, on Dak Prescott's current situation? What's your gut feeling on what's going to happen here? Is this going to drag out like it did with Zeke, or will it get hammered out here in a few days, or what's your gut feeling on the Dak Prescott contract?
Yeah, I think it'll get handled, and I think the Jones family likes Dak Prescott, and I think that is the best possible situation he could be in, because they talk very highly of him. Don't see anything wrong with Dak. Dak is a model citizen. Dak is just one of those type of guys that you would allow to date your daughter. If you were basically if you were a dad of a daughter like I am. So I think when it comes down to it, I think the deal will get done. I think they're ironing out whatever the details are. I do think that this is an awkward situation because probably not going to have training camp, probably not going to have OTAs, going to be virtual. So there's probably a lot of, maybe there is some distance, when they're trying to conversate about this, because they probably can't meet face to face. You get a different sense when you meet face to face. But they're in talks. I think it will get done. I'm not concerned about it. I don't think it really dragged on as long as Zeke situation went, because I think Dak is just one of those guys that want to be in the meetings, want to be prepared, want to go into the season prepared. I do not see him going into week one, maybe only being in the building for a week or two. I just don't see that as being his MO. So I think the deal will get done. I'm not worried about it. And anybody that's concerned about Andy Dalton, they really need to reevaluate their Cowboys fandom.
Yeah, right on. That's well said, Ben. I didn't even think anything of that, but of course you do have that faction of fans that absolutely don't like Dak for whatever reason, and just looking for any reason to stir the pot. Oh, we got Dalton, Pro Bowler, he can come in here and win the job. That hasn't even crossed my mind. He's the backup. That's what it's going to be. And I'm with you. Ben. I believe this will get done here in due time, and I think they'll be fine. I think it's going to be it's in everybody's interest, to not drag this out. So I think Stephen Jones knows that, Dak knows that, and yeah, like you said, they really, really like Dak Prescott, especially Jerry, and they want to keep this team together with Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, and now you got another up and coming superstar possibly with CeeDee Lamb and Cooper, and sky's the limit. I feel like the sky's the limit. You got yourself a really good head coach. But Mike McCarthy has a championship pedigree, knows what it takes to get into the playoffs and win in the playoffs. That's something we have not had in decades.
Yeah, that's true. And I think too, when it comes down to it, when McCarthy came in, the first thing he said is, "I like what we have." And I'm not going to quote him exactly, but it sounded like he was saying, "I like what we have." And then you go to the draft, and they drafted a quarterback in the 7th round. To me, that just says that they're probably closer than what we think, and they're just working out the numbers and the years. That's it. And then you bring in Andy Dalton, knowing that Andy Dalton hasn't been that good in years. I think, to me, that's kind of the writing on the wall, basically saying that we want Dak to be the guy. He will be the guy. And because they don't have a future. They don't have a future quarterback on this roster. So to me, that was a clear-cut sign. If they would have drafted, Jacob Eason or something like that, then I would be like, okay, got something to worry about. But I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Yeah, it could be like the Eagles situation, right? The Eagles have Wentz. They drafted Hurts in the 2nd round. Those guys are going crazy. I have a feeling. I don't know, man. Do you think the Cowboys fans would have reacted the same way Philly fans did when Jalen Hurts got drafted?
They probably would have. I mean, now some of them would have been happy.
Yeah.
Some would have been pissed. But the Jalen Hurts, when that happened, I got a bunch of Eagles friends, and I'm like, what is the story with this? They couldn't explain it. I don't even know if the GM could explain it, because I don't know if anybody, from top to bottom can explain it. Maybe they meant to draft another Jalen and they just forgot or something. I don't know. That is going to be one of the biggest stories going into this year. I can't wait to see the Eagles crumble. I'm looking forward to it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about the Eagles, and we can get into that here when we talk about the schedule real quick. But before we do that, Ben, Frank Gore, and maybe some people are talking, why are y'all talking about Frank Gore? But Frank Gore is still in the league, signed with the Jets, right? He's about to turn 37. This month he'll be 37. But he's 3,009 yards away from breaking Emmitt's record. Is it going to happen, Ben, or probably not?
I don't think it's going to happen, just based on his age. He would have to probably play until he's 40 or 42, because I don't know if he can get 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
You think of on this Jets team, they already have Le'Veon Bell, so you can't be getting that many carries. Now, I would love to see it happen, but I don't think it'll happen. But Frank Gore is becoming like the old man of steel, and this dude is just playing for team after team after team, and going from different teams. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer, but it is great to see him continue on.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's crazy because I remember last year when he got signed, and they talked about where he was at, on the all-time rushing list, and I had no idea that he was up that high, and got up there, number 3. He passed Barry Sanders. I mean, that's huge, right? You passed Barry Sanders, one of the best that's ever played, and now you're in 3rd place behind the great Walter Payton, Sweetness, and then obviously, of course, Emmitt, the greatest ever. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. 3,009 yards is what it takes to break Emmitt's record at 37 years old. Yeah, it would take a lot, unless you had a miraculous, 1,500 yard season or something like that, and that kind of thing. But I think he's more in the support role now. I think he's getting between 600 and 500 yards a season here towards the end. But it is interesting when you start talking about, where the NFL is at with running backs. You know, it's kind of cyclical because sometimes you get that one running back that sets the market, you know, like Ezekiel or Todd Gurley, you know, and then especially with Gurley, you know, now you're kind of seeing like, oh, you know, I think we overpaid this guy with the knee injury and that kind of thing, but Zeke got his money, and we saw C-Mac, you know, Christian McCaffrey just got paid, so he set the market again, so, you know, it's it's an interesting thing on the running backs, but I definitely don't see any more of these like legacy running backs that are gonna stay in the league for that long. I think Frank Gore might be one of the last guys, you know, one of your every down type of back. So, you know, what's your feeling on where the running backs are? Do you think this is an end of an era? These type of running backs, Ben?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think, you know, two examples. You look at the draft, the first running back picked was the last pick in the first round, and I believe that was the Chiefs that traded up to get that pick. So it wasn't like they were there already. So the running back is definitely becoming like a dying breed. I think, you know, you may have that one or two like freakish talents like a Zeke, and then you think of Adrian Peterson who's still playing. But I don't think we'll ever see that again, unless, like I said, unless they're just one of those freakish athletes that cannot resist paying them. But then you look at Todd Gurley, which I said this from the minute that he got drafted. You think about it back at Georgia, he had knee issues. It wasn't like Todd Gurley had a clean bill of health.
Yeah,
you know, the Rams took him on with knowing this, you know, and that also goes to, like you said, with C-Mac. Like the money in the NFL stays warm for like a year, and sometimes not even that long. So the guys that say they want to be the highest paid, you just got to realize that you're not going to be the highest paid the next year, because somebody else is going to get paid more than you are, and that's kind of the market of, you know, the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben, and I think that's where some fans kind of get muddled in the talk with Dak Prescott. You know, it's like, hey, you know, is Dak Prescott worth $30 million? And I remember when we were talking about this, you know, and you see it everywhere, you know, whether it's, you know, on forums or YouTube or podcasts like ours, where you talk about, is he a $15 million man? And you see fans get mad about that. And then we bump it up to $25 million a year, and fans are going crazy. 30, 35. Now you're talking about, is he a $40 million quarterback? and then it's like, you know, yeah, I mean, I could see it happening. You know, I'm thinking 35 still, but, you know, I'm not one to judge another man's money. But, you know, it's you get into that range, just like you said, the next contract will break that one. So that could get, I think he will be the highest paid quarterback, but then he'll be surpassed by somebody like Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, you know?
Right. And I think the great point that you bring up with Mahomes, Mahomes hasn't got this next deal. Mahomes is the MVP. He's the Super Bowl champion. He led his team to a Super Bowl. So he will be the highest paid. I think the Chiefs have been waiting it out to see what this Dak contract is going to be, so then they can pay him probably $5 million more. But I think what people fail to understand is, so I've talked about this on my podcast as well, it's the market. It's not about, it's honestly not about the money. It's about the money. Dak would get 30 and everything good. But it's about the market. The market, where the market is set, is what the player's going to go after, what the player's agent is going to go after. So when you think, is Dak worth $40 million, the answer is no. Is he worth 35? I would say no, because that would be equal to Russell Wilson, and I don't think he's equal to Russell Wilson, at least not yet. So I think when he talk about are they worth it, the answer is no, they're not. But the market is set at a certain point, and these guys want to get paid their value. And you can't hate on that. I mean, if it was you or me, I would say, yeah, give me the 35.
Yeah.
Like people think like, oh, this is too much. It's a lot of money. Their money and our money is not equal. It will never be equal. But you just have to think of the market and that's the way the NFL is. That's the way sports is. I think people fail to think about that.
Yeah, I think that's a very common thing. What you bringing up there, Ben, is absolutely correct, and it is. At the end of the day, when we're talking about the business side of it, it is the market, and that dictates a lot of these big contracts. So, good information there, Ben. I appreciate that conversation there on that. Good stuff there. To close it out, let's talk about the schedule that's coming out this Thursday night, Ben. We know we've been waiting for this. Usually it's already out by now, but the NFL is being a little bit more, diligent and planning on the schedule in light of the virus that's out there, COVID, and how some of these other sports teams sport leagues got derailed by this. We're talking about the NBA. They were about to hit the playoffs. We don't even know what's going to happen with that. Is the season officially over, or are they going to play the playoffs? So MLB, they're usually about halfway through their season now. They haven't started yet, so it's it'll be interesting to see how the NFL handles this. What's your take on anything that we're going to hear from the NFL schedule on Thursday, Ben?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to come out with it, probably with the regular schedule. But an interesting article I've seen is that the Dolphins are looking at trying to figure out how they can play in their stadium with, a smaller amount of fans. So probably going to be separated, whatever it's going to be. But I think, honestly, I think the season will start, but I think they'll be playing games with empty stadiums. And I think that may be, half of the season possibly, depending on where this whole thing goes. But when it comes to the Cowboys schedule in particular, it's about the rivalry games, with the teams in our division. And it is about seeing how, I can't wait to see how McCarthy game plans and get the team ready for these games. That's always been a knock on Jason Garrett. The players weren't ready. Even the players would say we weren't ready. We didn't feel like we were best prepared. To me, that falls back on the coach. So I think the NFL is going to push it out there. They're going to give us the full schedule. Maybe they may put an asterisk on, a couple of the games, maybe the season. But yeah, I think they're going to push it out there regardless.
Yeah, that's one thing I heard too, Ben. And the other thing I heard, and I guess we'll find out Thursday night, was that they want to front load, I guess, the early part of the schedule with your division games and, your conference games in case they do have to shorten the schedule due to, I don't know, a resurgence in the virus or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. That's one rumor I heard, because then how would you, if you have to shorten the season, how would you determine, your division champ and that kind of thing? So that kind of does make sense if that rumor does come to fruition. I think it also makes for an exciting start to the season. Your division games are always the most highly rated games on your schedule, especially for the Cowboys. We always get like a lot of the primetime games and that sort of thing, but it'll be interesting. So Ben, with the schedule coming out, we know what the opponents are. At home we're going to have the Redskins, Giants, Eagles, Cardinals, 49ers, Browns, Steelers, and Falcons. Right? Of those games, is there any of those home games that kind of stand out to you as far as a litmus test, maybe with the 49ers or Steelers, Falcons? What's your feeling on some of the home game opponents?
Yeah, I think the 49ers is the one that I'm circling. Obviously with them going to the Super Bowl, with them being a very young team, a very not well-known team. We're learning a lot of these names, especially on the defense, besides Sherman and that defensive line. So I'm looking forward to that game because I think that's going to be an interesting test to what this team is and what they can really be this year. So that's the one I'm definitely looking forward to. Obviously, the Steelers, that's always going to be a good one. It just depends on if Big Ben is going to be healthy at that point in the season. No, he always misses at least 1, 2, or the whole season. So
yeah, that's true.
That one in.
Yeah, I'm with you. 49ers, I think that'll be, and we're at home, obviously, so that's a good one there. I think it's a really good litmus test for us, And just like you said, they got all the way to the Super Bowl. I think they're a well-coached team. They have good weapons on offense. Their defense is high-powered. I think they're well-rounded. This could be the rekindling of an old rivalry. Cowboys 49ers of the 90s. Battling it out, during the season, and again at the end of the season in the playoffs. It could be that. I'm hoping it is that. Obviously, I hope we win that game. Falcons. I don't know about the Falcons. I feel like these guys. I feel like they probably should have made a change this offseason, but they're going to give it one more roll. And we kind of see teams that do that. These teams usually. They don't do it. They don't do well there. I think Quinn is on his last leg. They try to make some moves there in the draft. I don't think it's gonna be enough for them, but could be wrong. Cardinals, that'll be a fun game to watch. They're gonna have a high potent offense. How does Kyle Murray look in year 2? And that kind of thing.
Yeah, Kingsbury year 2 as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if he makes a leap, or is he going to be a bust at coach. So we'll see on that. On the away games, Ben, we got the Redskins, Giants, Eagles, Seahawks. All right, on the road, LA Rams at the Vikings, and then we got the Bengals, and then the Ravens. So that away schedule sounds a little bit kind of tough, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously the one I'm pinning on the schedule is the Ravens. Look at that team, Lamar Jackson, who's like Vic, 2.0. And you think of going to Baltimore and playing the Ravens, that's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a huge test for the defense because no one really was able to stop Lamar Jackson all year except that they ran into the Titans. That was the only team that stopped him in the playoffs. So being able to see that game, I think that's going to be a good one. Obviously, also you look at the Bengals just because I want to see Burrow. I really want to see what he does. They got a new coach there as well. So those are the 2 games that I'm kind of highlighting. Obviously, you got to think about Minnesota. What is Minnesota this year? And so those away games, though, look tough. I mean, all those can go either way. This is the NFL, and it's not just these aren't chumps that's playing. So you can lose either one of these games. Just like what happened last year throughout some games.
So the away games, I agree that Bengals game. We're gonna get to see Burrow. What's your thoughts on Burrow? First round pick there. Do you think right out the gate he's your starting quarterback, or do they bring him along slow, or what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think he's starting week 1. I think they're putting a lot in him. He is older, so it's not like he's the 20-year-old rookie. I mean, I think he's going to be coming in starting week 1. They don't have Andy, so I don't know. Honestly, I don't know who the backup is. Maybe it's McCarron. I don't know if they still have McCarron or not. So that's going to be. I think he's going to get thrown to the wolves, and I think he's going to learn. They got a young coach, but I think he is going to be a good to great quarterback. I think he's shown it at LSU what he can do. But now you go to the NFL, you don't have that offense that you had at LSU. You don't have, kind of the great situations that you had. So it's going to be a really, I think, a big test for him. But I think he's going to be a good quarterback. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think he's set the tone there to be that number 1 quarterback drafted. It's one heck of a season, and hopefully they get something. The Bengals have been bad for a long time, and sometimes you want to see some of these bad teams kind of turn it around, but not against us. Let's get that win on the road.
Right.
That'll be a fun one. I like what you said about the Ravens. I think that's going to be a big test. They had an A+ draft as well. I mean, Ozzie Newsome retires, and they're still drafting really good. I mean, these guys, they know what they're doing. Their front office is A plus. I mean, they're the cream of the crop. When it comes to nailing these drafts, they always have comp picks. It's like, how many picks do these guys have every season? It's like, right. Yeah, and good quality players. So I like that. That's gonna be a good test. And yeah, Mike Vick 2.0 and this Lamar Jackson. He's an exciting quarterback. That has to be a primetime game. When I'm looking at some of these games, we're talking about home and away. Ravens, that has to be primetime. Wouldn't you say, Ben?
Yeah, definitely.
That one, Seahawks, that's probably going to be a primetime game. I would think, that's on the road at Seattle, over there at that
always
great stadium. Yeah,
that's always a tough matchup, playoffs or regular season.
What's your prediction on the Thanksgiving game, Ben? We know that's a game a lot of fans like to circle on the calendar when it comes out. Who do you think it'll be? You think it'll be another division rival, or do you think it might be one of these other teams?
I think it'll be a division rival. I think that's probably one of the best games that you can have, because when if they play like Pittsburgh or something, it just doesn't seem right. If they play the Redskins, it seems right. If they play the Eagle, it feels right. If they play one of those teams in the division, I think it has a different feel to it, and you probably get more viewers because that's a rivalry game, and people probably know each other and that are fans of the teams in the division. So I think it's going to be a division. I'm predicting Redskins.
Yeah. Yeah, those division games on Thanksgiving, they are. And, there's that tradition that's just there. You go all the way back to, the 70s, 80s. There's some great games there in the division. Let me ask you this, Ben. The opening game it was like a running joke for a while there that our opening game was always the Giants. Is that going to be the case this year, or are we going with somebody else?
I think we're going to go with somebody else this year. I mean, which it has been the Giants for years on end. But I think it'll be somebody different. They don't have Eli, so to me, it's not going to be that marquee anymore because there's no, Saquon is the big name now, but there's no quarterback versus quarterback, comparison that they can put out there. So I think it'll be a different team. I can't wait to see who it is, but I definitely think it'll be a different team.
Will we be at home or away, Ben? What do you think?
Good question. I think we will start off away. Main reason is if your COVID is probably still going to be going around and you're playing in a closed-in area, they're probably going to want it outside to where things can fluctuate and flow. So I think they're going to factor that in. I think it'll be a away game.
That is a great point, Ben. I wonder. Yeah, that's a really good point. We have these open stadiums versus the enclosed ones. Obviously, the Cowboys. I wonder if that'll be a mandate by the NFL. If you have a dome stadium that you can open it up, I wonder if that'll be something where it's going to be like a requirement. Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz, they can open that up. Cowboys, they can open the roof, which they rarely ever do. But do they open the doors? Do they open the roof?
That's interesting. I mean, I think there's so many aspects to this season. Mm-hmm. that are going to be either altered, changed. They're going to have to talk about it. Like I think this is going to far from like an easy decision for them to make. And I think there's a lot of factors they got to consider. It's not something they've experienced before. You're doing the NFL season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be something like we've never seen. I know they want to go with the full, full 17 weeks and the Super Bowl in February. But I think it's just far as getting through this any kind of resurgence. Hopefully there's no resurgence, a second or third wave of this junk. So
yeah, I hope not.
Yeah,
because that would put a damper on the middle of the season. We could be December. We're trying to figure out how we're gonna, cancel games or reschedule games. That would be, I think, pretty hard to watch.
Yeah, I think a part of the reason why this is taking a little bit longer than usual is the obviously like we said here, the logistics of it, right? And then I think they're trying to plan out their strategy as far as an infected player, a coach, or somebody in the organization. Like, what do they do then? Like, what is the plan? We saw the NBA, one player got it knocked out the game, it knocked out the league. What does the NFL have planned here, Ben? Like, what's your gut take that they're going to come out and announce here as far as what to do for safeguards, I guess you could say?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to test everybody. I mean, the minute that you walk in the building, probably practices, meetings, everything, you're going to get tested. You're going to have, at least they're going to check and see if you have a fever. But we're now learning that a fever may not be, the lead way to having COVID-19. So I think that's probably the first step. And also, I read that they're canceling all international games. So, the ones in Mexico, London. So that's going to be kind of out of the question. Mm-hmm. And maybe you have to determine what stadiums are going to be used and what stadiums aren't going to be used. That's another, another factor, because I know NBA and NHL, they're starting to look at maybe we only play in certain stadiums, arenas, cities. So they got a lot to think about, but I think they'll definitely be testing early and often because that's going to be your only way to know what if people have it or not. Now, I don't know if they're going to cancel. I don't know if you cancel games if they have it, or you quarantine maybe that whole team. But you really gotta be careful because they may not know they have it 10 days in. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. I think of anything, that's something that I'll be interested to see what they come out with. With the commissioner. As far as safeguards or what the backup plan is. Obviously, they've talked about worst case shortening the season, that kind of thing. So we'll know here on Thursday, and it's good to know that football is around the corner. We still haven't seen what the plan is for mini camp. A lot of these teams right now would be setting up for their rookie mini camps and that kind of thing. In June, you get another round of mini camps, and then training camp. Yeah. So for the Cowboys training camp, I almost feel like it's not going to be in Oxnard. I almost feel like it's going to just have to be there at the Star at Frisco. What do you think is going to happen there with training camp, Ben?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be in the cities of the teams, because you traveling across country, it's not going to be a good idea. New York team going to Florida, certain teams going to Arizona or going to California, West. So I think you got to have it in the team city, and also kind of the NBA is talking about not quarantining, or not the players not being away from their families. So I think you got to factor that in. So they're probably just going to be at home, and they're probably just going to ride up to the Star and practice and then go home. That seems like the best possible scenario, because at least if you work with the family, you know that you're not around somebody that you don't know.
Absolutely. I wonder if the O-line will continue their tradition of going out and eating as a group. It's crazy. It's crazy how everything is changing with this stuff. So hopefully we'll get through this, Ben. I'm glad you're doing good as well. I follow you, and you do a great job. But I think that's it, guys. Thanks for checking out the Frisco Report with a special guest, Ben Sudderth out of BS3 Radio. Let my listeners know where they can find you at, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. So at BS3 Radio, all avenues of social media, BS3Radio.com is the website. And then check us out on YouTube. We're dropping YouTube videos each week. We're trying to get to the same status of is the Cowboy Report. So we're working on that.
Absolutely. That's where it's at. And yeah, you guys give Ben a follow. He does a great job. Well produced podcast. I love his podcast. It's one of the best that's out there. It's got a good community, good fans, and everything. So go check him out. Good follow. Very plugged in. Locally to not just Cowboys, but you cover everything, right, Ben?
Yeah, everything. From A to Z. I'll even know some Batman.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you. Make sure you give me a follow at the Frisco Report. You can follow me on YouTube, obviously, just Cowboys Blog, and at Cowboys Blog Net on Twitter and Instagram. But for myself and Ben, I really do appreciate you, and I'll catch you guys for the next podcast. Thanks, everybody.